Okay, today we are going to be looking at Investigation 4.3, which is titled How to Be an Operations Sleuth. But what we're really going to be doing is how do we know, we're going to figure out how we can know what operation we need to solve a problem, and then how we can turn that problem into a number sentence to solve for that problem. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to use everything we've talked about all week, the fact families and the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division algorithms that we've talked about in the weeks past to be helping solve these problems. So let's take a look. All right, so let's see. We'll go on. All right, so I am going to get rid of this information real quick. All right, and we are simply going to go through these problems and decide how to solve them. So for the first, it says to decide which operation we need to find an answer, explain how we identified the operation. When we use more than one operation, explain the order in which you use them, write the number sentence or sentences we would use, and then find the answer. All right, so for A, it says Sammy the turtle can walk 1/8 of a mile in an hour. How many hours will it take him to walk 1 1/4 miles? All right, so let's take a look here. Sammy the turtle is walking at 1/8 of a mile an hour. Okay, first off, this right here, 1/8, I need to know that number. And then my question states, how many hours will it take him? So if this is in 1 hour, my question is how many hours? So I will have a number of hours. And then my other number that I need from this would be the 1 1/4 miles. Okay, so if he can walk 1/8 in 1 hour, then in 2 hours he should be able to walk 2/8. And in 3 hours it will be 3/8. In 4 hours it will be 4/8. So on and so forth until he hits 1 1/4. Well, instead of sitting there making a chart like that, I can indicate my problem in my problem it indicates that I should be figuring out how many eighths there are in 1 1/4. Okay, because it says in an hour, so that's like a unit rate. So this is in 1 hour, and we want to figure out how many hours it's going to take to go here. So that's kind of like how many eighths are there in 1 1/4. Well, that's a division problem, okay? Because the only way that I can find that answer is through division. So we are going to use division in this problem. And that should be the only operation that I need to use. So then my number sentence from this would be, this is my total. So he's walking 1 1/4 miles, and I want to figure out how many eighths there are. So that would be 1 1/4 divided by 1/8. Okay? Now, using my algorithm, the first thing I want to do is I like to use the multiplication by the reciprocal when it comes to this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my numbers into improper fractions. So 1 1/4 would become 5/4, and then divided by 1/8. Okay, and now I'm going to convert this and rewrite my first fraction, and then I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of the second. All right, and so when I do this, I get 40 over 4, and then when I simplify this, I would get 10. So it should take him it will take him 10 hours to go the 1 1/4 miles if he's walking at a pace of 1/8 miles an hour. All right, so that's A, and that's a very simple, straightforward problem. All right, so let's take a look at B. I'm going to solve B here. Let's do this one in purple. Okay, B says Jamarcus plans to build a fence 5 1/3 yards long at the back of his garden. How many 2/3 yard sections will the fence need? All right, so let's highlight our numbers that we think we're going to need. I need a fence that is this long, so I'm definitely going to use that. And then when it says how many 2/3, this tells me how long my fences are, how long the pieces are that I'm using. Okay, and so again, it says how many 2/3 sections are going to be in my total fence, and my total fence is 5 1/3. So again, this is going to be a division problem because I'm trying to figure out how many 2/3 are in 5 1/3. So that would look like 5 1/3. Oops, I need to identify my operation first because that was the first problem, the first thing. So it's division. Okay. And my number sentence that I'm going to set up is be 5 1/3 divided by 2/3. Okay, well, this time, instead of using the multiplication by the reciprocal of the second fraction, I'm going to use the common denominator strategy that we talked about in class because both of these have a 3 as a denominator. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn 5 1/3 into an improper fraction. So 5 times 3 plus 1 would give me 16/3 divided by 2/3. Okay, and then in that strategy, we can ignore or forget about the denominators since they are equal. And so we get 16 divided by 2. So 16 becomes our numerator in our fractional answer, and 2 would be our denominator. So 16 divided by 2, 16 divided by 2. And then I simplify that down. So if I divide 16 by 2, or I have 16 halves, that would be 8 sections. Okay, and so he would need 8 sections of fence. All right, so that's how you take the problem. We look at things like our numbers, which numbers we need. We look at the question. If it's talking about how many is a very strong indication of division being used. So what I would like for you to do before coming to class tomorrow would be to complete question C on your own. Okay, and you will need the numbers. Okay, it says Sasha bought 3.5 pints of blueberries to make jelly. She ate 3/4 of a pint on her way home. How many pints of berries does she have left? Okay, so we need 3.5 because that's our starting point. And then we have 3/4 is what she ate, so she's getting rid of those. And then our question, how many pints of berries does she have left to make jelly? Well, this has how many, which we used up here to say division, but if we read the whole question, it says, it uses the phrase have left. So how many left would indicate a subtraction sentence. All right, so go ahead and try to set up your problem for C before coming to class tomorrow.